Welcome, drivers. This is your host, NearFear, and today we will be going along the Glory Road, the road to WAC in part 1 of this Project Cars career mode. We're going to start by making new characters, and I'm going to quickly explain the main goals for this series, as you will, but main idea is to try and get some of the newer drivers to Project Cars a little bit more comfortable with the game, get them a little bit more familiar with some of the setups that go into it, as well as some of the tracks and some of the little aspects that go into racing some of the cars. We're going to be role-playing as Daniel Snow for this playthrough, just because I thought it would probably be a more appropriate name. I like Daniel Ricardo, but I didn't want to use that name, so we're going to put Snow in front of it. And our nickname is going to be at WMD Dead Options, like similar to our Twitter handle, which is going to be down below. Yeah. Our nationality is going to be from the United States, aka the Americas, aka we're American, and we're going to go ahead with car number 33. So we're going to start from tier 8 and try and make our way all the way to LMP1, which is the main goal, but we did get to tier 6 just about last time. So tip number 1 is going to be never pick Torque Riders because their engineer's a douche. Now that we've gotten that settled, let's go ahead and sign a contract and get to the intro video.
Welcome to the world of kart racing. This is where many successful racing champions started out, and a great place to learn the basic principles of competitive racing. You'll start out in a short national series, followed by the Entry Karts Championship.
Ooh.
Each round features a sprint race and a main race. Points are scored by the top 8 finishers. Bonus points are awarded for fastest qualifying time.
Definitely
fastest
going
race
for
lap
those
time.
fastest times.
The pit lane is open for refueling, repairs, and tire changes. It's time to start your karting career.
Let's get rockin'! Okay, so we're going to start off with the intro screen with the calendar, and let's take a look at our inboxes. Alright, greetings Daniel, Andrew Tudor here, race engineer. Last season was a tough one. We've got a new shifter kart. Be ready to drive it. We've got a car that's in tip-top shape. Our pit crew is well trained. They are ready to help you out with the setup. No pressure. We know you'll do fine. Just go out there and put some laps in. Andrew Tudor. Pretty polite race engineer. Daniel, hello. We're absolutely thrilled to have you on board. Thanks for accepting our offer. We are here to win it, so anything that you need, just shout at us, Brent Hopkins. So remember that, guys. Shout at Brent Hopkins at the end of every single race, because that's just how it's going to go. I'm going to go ahead and go to our calendar to see our first event is the UK Kart Nationals at Glencairn Circuit. We're going to be starting round 1 in the sprint race, and then we're going on to the main race. We're going to be doing 50% races, mainly because I don't want to really be in the karts for more than 2 or 3 hours, since I've done the karts about twice or 3 times, and we're going to be doing the difficulty at 100%. So let's see what type of results that we can try to pull here at Glencairn Circuit and our debut race. We're going to be starting from, well, I'm not sure where we're going to be starting from, but let's jam it out! Here we are at Glencairn Circuit. We're going to turn down the tire pressures, as I've explained in the previous video, because the tires are just really too high and they just tend to get cold toward the middle of the race. So it's a really good idea to have them lower brake pressures at 100% to stop the car a lot quicker, although you risk locking up, and the brake balance is going to be 53% in forward. Longitudinal weight bias is going to be about 57.5%, because that's as much forward as I can allow without unbalancing the card. But I'm going to be starting in P6 behind Michael Wergens, and we're going to be starting ahead of Aaron Jones, who is in 7th. Felix Poland is the pole man, and Patricio Perez in 2nd. So let's see what we can do here. Alright, we're starting on the grid as we roll forward, because I forgot to hold my brakes. If you let it roll too far, you get a false start check. But we're going to go ahead and edit the HUD layout, because I find this layout to be utterly cluttered. Like, I don't need this much information scattered across my screen. So I'm going to get rid of all the bits that I don't need. I only need to look at the times and the lap numbers. So we're on our way to the green. Way we go. going into the first corner, we've already taken P5, so that was pretty easy, just getting an average start for us as we're going through the first sector pretty clean. We're getting held up a little bit by Alexander Santos, so we're going to try and go up the inside into the next corner, which we have done quite brilliantly, and we're trailing behind Chris Vogelsberg. I'm not exactly sure how you say that. We're going to call him Chris for now. But we're trailing right behind him, trying to see if we can steal P3. And our main goal is to try and keep it as clean as we can without wrecking our chances in the second race. And we're also trying to get as many positions as we can, because where you finish in the first race is where you're going to be starting in the second race. So you don't want to give it all out in the first race unless you're comfortable with doing so, because if you end up crashing, you lose all of the positions and you have to make it all back up in the second race. But so far we've managed to use Chris as a ramp, and let's go ahead and check that replay out and see and analyze some of the things that we did in the first lap just to put us in this position in the first place. So we are here on the replay cameras at the start of the race, and we've got a pretty good launch off, and we've just stolen the inside from Michael into turn 1. It was a very short run up to turn 1, but we're trailing around P4, and we're doing our best to try and stay on that rubber line because it does have the most grip, and we're also trying to keep the kart in higher gears than we think we need to, mainly because if you try and go in lower gears for the acceleration out of the corners, it tends to spin the rear end up, and on a bumpy circuit like this, that is not very good idea. So we're going to go into turn 1, turn 2, and 3 and 4 complex, going very clean in sector 1. We haven't really gone over much yet, and we're going to see if we can try and get the cutback done to P3 in this next corner. But as you see here, he just turns the inside and blocks us off, and we use him as a ramp going into the third lap of the race. And we're going to cut back over to the actual onboard footage. So we're still behind him in P4 on the third lap of the race. We managed to go up the inside of him into the next corner, and now we're chasing down Felix Poland, who is in P2 at the moment. And maybe we'll have a run at P1, but by the looks of it, he's too far ahead. As we get pulled off the track by the grass, it seems like it wanted to snag us off and kill us. But we run a little bit wide there, trying to carry as much speed as we could up the outside of the corner, I want to say. And we're not doing so hot at the moment. We're going to see if we can get the cutback done again on Patricio Perez onto the front stretch, which we have. And we've managed to put ourselves into P2 for the race. But that ends up being about it for us, as we are about a second, almost a second and a half behind. Now we are a second and a half, 2 seconds even behind the leader, so it doesn't look like we're going to get it done this lap. We're going to try and put in the fastest middle sector that we can without spinning the card, but it hasn't. It has put us 5/10 behind him, but we haven't gotten the position. So that's it for our first debut race. We managed to get into P2 from 6th on the grid in the span of 5 laps, so not too shabby of a job. We are going to go into race 2 in round 1, where we've got Patricio Perez on pole and got myself in P2. So we're going to try and get a launch off of the corner, but he has way better traction on the rubbered in line, so he's going to go straight around the outside as we get pinched a little bit and we lose the rear end come sector 1 and get an off track for getting one wheel off, which doesn't really make much sense to me, but we're going to continue on. Gonna cut that little chicane right there because the AI do it as well. We're gonna try and do the cutback into the final corner. Same thing we did to Felix in the last race, and we've managed it, and that ends up being it for the race, mainly because we've had so much of a pace advantage over the AI that it really doesn't matter much right after you get the first place. They don't really fight you because, as you see, we've already gained about a second plus on P2 in the first set of runnings, but we're going to cut over to the last lap of the race where we passed the lap car, and we're going to finish in P1 about 8 seconds ahead of the rest of the pack. We've even lapped a car toward the end in the span of 5 laps. So we've managed to net ourselves a win after getting a second place in the first race, and that should have put us in runnings for the championship. We figured out that Michael Wiggins, the man we passed in race 1, is our teammate, and we've managed to go fastest in each race, so that's going to be some bonus points for us. Hopefully that'll tally it out for the championship. And no, it hasn't. We're actually tied for first place. So the game has lied to us. We don't get bonus points in the beginning rounds of the kart championship. But we're here for round 2, and we're just waiting for the green flag to drop, and we're off into first place. We got a pretty good start, and we're going to try and go around the outside of P2, but he's cut the track, and he's kept the position, so I don't know what the stewards are going to think about that, but we'll worry about that later as we try and go around the outside of P2, which is Aaron Jones, who started behind us in the last race. So he's really adamant on keeping us behind. As he's backing us up, he's doing everything in his power to keep us from staying in this rubbered-in line and just going straight around him as we lose the rear end into turn 1. We're going into turn 4, I believe. We're going to see if we can get the momentum to go around the outside of him again, but he's squeezed us out almost into the grass. We're going to try for it again, going around the outside of the next turn. He's thrown us off the rubbered-in line, just holding that inside. Brilliant work by Aaron Jones, but we've had enough of it. We're going to push it up the inside. Very late braking move there, but he's knocked us off, and now we've got a tailspin, and oh my lord, there's too much happening at once with this one AI driver. We're going to try and see if we can get around the outside of him again in this corner, but let's look at that replay, because that was some good stuff from Aaron Jones right there. Like, he should definitely be given the gold star, the gold cookie award, I don't know. But we're here on lap 1. We try to go around the outside, and he just naturally holds the inside line. So we go for the cutback because we expected that to happen. And what ends up happening is he ends up squeezing us out off of the rubber line just a bit, which allows the rear wheels to spin up, and we got tailspin coming out of the corner. So we lost all of our momentum there. As we come into the first corner, we're just going to try and keep it a little bit consistent because we don't want to spin off there and lose all of the momentum for the next race. So we're going around the outside again with a lot more speed than last time, but he squeezed us out so we can't get around him. We're going to try and go around the outside of this corner again because we usually have the momentum of the AI here, but he squeezed us out again, so we got frustrated. We're going to try and late break a move. We locked up the rears a little bit, and he's bumped us back out as we've bumped him in the first corner, and we've just managed to catch the slide just barely. So very great racing from Aaron Jones there. AI can definitely race you sometimes as we're cutting on to the end of lap 3. He's backed us up coming out of that corner, but we're going to see if we can try and get him again. We've been trying to get him for the most part out of turn 4, so we're going to cut the track just a little bit, get a little tailspin on the exit, and we've managed to go right around Aaron Jones into the next couple of corners, but we are about 9/10 behind the leaders, so this isn't impossible to try and make a pass to Patricio Perez, currently tied for the championship. So we've done a pretty sloppy job through Sector 1. We're going to see if we can get Sector 2 done. We've had to bleed off the gas a bit. We're going pretty slowly as it is, but we're still 3/10 behind him, so we're not too far back. We're going to try and carry all the speed through Sector 3 as we can, but we've lost the rear end. We've attacked the corner wrong in the rubber line, and we've succeeded the first place. So we're in race 2 for round 2, and we're going to see what difference we can make on the outside on the rubbered-in line around Patricio Perez. So he tries to block us off, but he couldn't quite get it done. We've just gone around him into turn 1, and that's race over. We're going to start pulling away from Patricio. We're already 7/10 ahead in the first set of corners, and we basically just check out from here, folks. The main tips for this track, if you just want to set some decent lap times to try and beat the AI, and is try and keep it in a high gear, stay on that rubbered-in line as much as you can, don't attack the curbs too much. You can definitely spin your kart out that way and lose a handful of points as we cut over to the final lap of the race where we come in P1 getting really smooth exit, but we did run wide a little bit, and that should tie us up again into the third round of the championship, where we are starting from pole position ahead of our teammate Michael Werrigan. So our teammate apparently has gotten a good grid position. Let's see if he can hold it and net him some championship points, which he's been lacking this season. And we've already checked out, having a phenomenal start at the drop of the green flag, and that ends up basically being it for the first round of the championship. The AI can't really keep up with me on this track, even though this is my worst track of the season. I just happen to find pace in this race just enough to see if we can get around them. I tend to be better through the final few corners than the AI. However, they usually tend to be better in the first sector. So we're going to see if we can try and gain some time in the first sector. I've been around this track before, and I should have a slight advantage here with this new high gear trick. So we've managed to pull about 1.5 seconds out in the first sector alone, coupled with the third sector. We've lost a little time on the exit, but we do tend to gain that all back in this next left-hander, where we're about 3.5 seconds up on the pace, and we're just doing very well for ourselves. We're going to try and cut over to the end of the Grand Prix to showcase ourselves about 10 seconds ahead in P1 for the first race. So we have taken the championship by only a few points. So just if Patricio Perez happens to get a good run, or I happen to get a terrible run, as we see in the next clip, I'm already in the grass. There has been a glitch with the game, and I am now driving my own kart on autopilot, which is very confusing. We have a very bad start in the gear shifts because we were just so thrown off by that weird glitch, and our teammate has gone around the outside of us into turn 1, and he's starting to streak away a little bit as we are having trouble going through the S section. And we're trying to come at him at the beginning of the next lap for lap 2, but we just can't seem to get anything on him. He just seems to be on form through the first sector, and we seem to be losing a little bit of form in the final 2 sectors. So we're going to try and catch up to him and see if we can get him out of the third sector. It looks like we're within 4/10 of him now. We should be able to go straight around the outside with the amount of traction that we end up having, and we outbrake him in the next corner, leaving him in the dust on the straightaway. So we have managed to steal first place from our teammate, and that right there seals the championship for the UK Kart Nationals. So far, our Glory Road is looking to be a bright one. As you can see, we're just completely checking out from the field. Even though we've gone a few hundredths of a second slower, we have still managed to pull about a 5+ tenth gap to Michael Wolverines in P2. So our rear gunner is now just going to hold off the rest of the pack for us, and we're just going to check out winning the final race in our debut kart season, the UK Kart Nationals, in pole position by about 4 seconds. What a short season this was, but we've done quite well for ourselves. We got a 14-point lead in the championship, and we've also beaten Patricio Perez, and Michael Wargans has happened to net himself a 3rd place at the end of the UK Kart Nationals, so we might see him in the next episode here when we go for the Kart Nationals. So that's just about it for this episode. Please feel free to rate, comment, and subscribe for more content similar to this. And let's see what we got here. Alexander Santos happened to get 4th place, so that's pretty cool of him. But we're going to go ahead and return to our career dashboard to see if we got any other results other than what we've seen. So we've apparently gotten some new mail, and maybe we've gotten a contract offer. Let's see. Nope, we have not. It's just Andrew Tudor congratulating us for 3 wins in a row at the end of the season. So that's about it for this episode. I'll see you guys later. Peace.